We should have had a better plan for the hot chocolate. It's good. It got everybody to the annual meeting. If you're able, I'm going to invite you forward. Just having our 11:15 service, we are in a little bit of a time crunch. If you want to stay back, that's fine and get. But for those that have what they need, if you will come forward and find a seat, and we will begin. The Lord be with you. Gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for this community that you have knit together. The reminder that the work of the church takes each person here, each person in our community, to live into their gifts and their vision for ministry, the way that you've called them to love and to serve. We give thanks for this moment to pause and to look back, to give thanks for the leadership of St. Stephen's, and to turn towards 2024, to continue to discern where you are calling us, so that we might be a part of revealing your glory in this world. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you all for being here for our annual meeting. It is a requirement of the church that we gather once a year and give a report on the parish and elect new vestry members and part of the diocese as well, to lift up new people to be our representatives at convention. And I was sitting with a friend yesterday. We were in his backyard. It was a beautiful, as yesterday was, just an absolutely beautiful day. I'm not making any comments on the state of, actually, I did not watch the game. We were outside looking at the trees. He had been gardening, and just a beautiful day. And it was a reminder that in this season of Advent, part of it is being aware. You can see the narrative that is out there that we're constantly inundated with, or you can look for what God is doing as well. Part of it is just having our eyes open to know that God is at work. So I wanted to share some pictures of this past year that hopefully will remind us of where we have been. We started out in February, marching through St. Stephen's, a Mardi Gras parade, getting ready for Advent, racing with pancakes on a patio. Then we gathered in the parish hall for the most Lenten discipline you could probably ever have, an ECWT. But a wonderful way to be reminded that beauty and creativity is a part of our life. We gathered then in early May to package 50,000 meals. I think it was actually 40,990 or something like that, because we lost a few bags. But meals that went to the Philippines, went to Haiti, sharing love in a profound way. And then we gathered to tell the story of St. Stephen's in this very parish hall. And if you have not yet seen it, it is on YouTube, a remarkable work by many people, but especially grateful for the Red Mountain Theater Company and for Keith and his vision for helping tell the St. Stephen's story. And then we continued to tell the story as people in our congregation worked to share the way that both their lives have been broken open, and yet the profound truth that Christ meets us in every moment of our lives. As I think, I'm trying to remember, was it 40 people in our congregation roughly that told stories or took pictures? And then we gathered on June 16th to remember how our lives have been changed. To give a moment that will probably be marked every day for the rest of our lives in this congregation, as we have come to realize the fullness of what the Eucharist means, the invitation to sit at table, to break bread with friends, and to know the cost of what it means to live into our faith. And then in August, we saw our new parish memorial garden and our columbarium being finished. So we played bingo and gathered in the parish hall. We broke bread in the middle of a river. We had hikes throughout the year, but something powerful about flipping over a canoe and using it as an altar. We harvested honey. We got to see the great work of the probably several 100,000 bees that live across the street and pollinate our community and remind us of how deeply connected we are to our neighbors. And then we went up to Camp McDowell and gathered as our parish family with lots of laughter and joy. And then we blessed animals on the back patio, mostly dogs and cats. There might have been a few other. There was some hermit crabs, I believe, if I recall correctly. We gathered as a congregation to serve. I think in some ways bringing back what was a long tradition of Cross Day. It was our annual serve day, and we went out to Christ Church Fairfield and were a part with some of their members in transforming that campus. We had people working here on Billy's lot. We had people in the parish hall writing cards to many of our outreach partners. We gathered to learn, as Catherine will share in a few moments, as the altar guild. We gathered for worship. We saw a campus teeming with life once again. I was reminded when I was called to be here, there were several of y'all that said, we want you to use this parish hall. It was full of events once again, an annual meeting for the Cahaba River Society, birthday parties for preschool families in different schools in the area, a place teeming with joy. This is the work of St. Stephen's. So I want to pause right now and I want to say some thank yous. If you have ever served on the vestry of St. Stephen's, would you stand up? This is a lot of the work that y'all have put in place. Y'all can sit down. Thank y'all. My hope is that through the life that each of y'all in this room will serve on the vestry at some point, so you have that experience of what it's like to be a part of leading St. Stephen's in that special way. I'd like Verna and Chris Williams and Jill Smith and Michael McGovern and Catherine Owens to please stand. This is the senior class of your vestry. Verna just came in for a year, so she's actually, you'll hear more about that, but just thanks to y'all for your leadership on the vestry. And will you help, Catherine? We've made a tradition. So there's this kind of rumor in the Episcopal Church that once you've served on the vestry that you get to take a sabbatical from church. That is not true. And so a few years ago, we started giving our vestry that was rolling off a prayer book and hymnal. So we are making sure that they use the prayer book in church, Mary. And it encourages you to come to church. And so I love seeing the vestry members carry those. So we have a hymnal for each of y'all. So thank y'all for your leadership. And I'll actually switch since we're on such a time. And Catherine, you are up next. And I'll pass it
All right. My name is Catherine Harper. I'm the Associate Rector for Pastoral Care and Liturgy. We'll talk first about things going on this year with pastoral care. What is pastoral care? It is emotional, social, and spiritual support to all in need. And St. Stephen's is deeply passionate about extending pastoral care, not just to those who gather in these spaces, but those who are outside of our walls. There's been beautiful, beautiful actions done in God's love this year. Raise your hand if you've ever gotten flowers from St. Stephen's, or a card, or a phone call, or a meal. Wow, look around. Almost every single person has been touched by pastoral care. Now raise your hand if you participate in pastoral care. That means delivering meals, delivering flowers, making phone calls, sending cards. Look at that. You are touching lives and you are being moved by the actions you are doing every single day. We marked a change in this year. Not only did we say thank you to Amy Passy for her service, as she has given deeply of herself. She continues to serve in a volunteer capacity, but stepped away from her paid functions here. And we welcomed Gretchen Lerner as well to help in pastoral care. This is deeply a volunteer-driven ministry. You have clergy who are supporting you in prayer, and we have some staff support, and yet much of this work happens because of you. The growth areas that we saw this year include in our bead ministry, making prayer beads, making prayer or bead chains and Anglican prayer beads. Hundreds of these prayer bracelets were sent to the school in Tennessee, in Brentwood, Tennessee, where there was a shooting earlier this year. And so a group gathered in retreat from St. Stephen's, created these bracelets, and then shipped them to the school outside of Nashville. Because so many people have been generous and compassionate in praying for us, we are doing that for others. Beaded bracelets were also sent to people across our diocese through Sawyerville Ministry. And then those special retreat times have transitioned to every week on a Tuesday morning in room 228. There is a large group of people who gather with robust amounts of beads and robust amounts of joy to pray and to build these bracelets that are tangible reminders of God's love and the prayers of the people of St. Stephen's. And so we give those to people who are in need. There's a family this year who is losing a loved one. And so the grandchildren and the children gathered here, and we handed out, 15 different bracelets to this family who were grieving. Our knitting ministry has grown a lot as well. We now meet on Wednesday afternoons for knitting, but not just knitting, not just praying. They are teaching people who don't know how to knit and to crochet to do that. So it's a growing space of relationship, of prayer, and gift that is happening here at St. Stephen's. And John, I didn't touch the pad soon enough, so it went to sleep. Our Eucharistic visits are increasing. That is continually a space where I want us to get more into visiting those who are watching online and can't come to church. CJ is wonderful at calling me to say, all right, who needs visits? There are others who have said this year, I want to be trained to take communion to those who are at home who can't be here. That is taking Christ to those in need. It is one of the most beautiful things we do. And thank you for those who participate. There also was a grief group that was held this fall, conducted by Cindy Wiley from St. Mary's and myself. It was a beautiful, beautiful, meaningful time of healing, and I hope that we will continue to offer grief groups in the future. Looking ahead to this coming year, I'd like for us to train more Eucharistic visitors, and also begin a caregiver support group. We are a large enough parish that there are many of us who are touched by caregiving, and we need support because it's a tiring, hard road, and we can support one another. If you want to get involved, I listed some of the staff who have hands on pastoral care, but there are so many parish volunteers. If you want to be a part of pastoral care, contact Gretchen, contact me. We will get you connected because there is a space for you. When you have prayer requests, you may call the church or email us at prayer@ssechurch.org. And then moving on to liturgy. We have more and more ways to invite all into worship, whether we are on the labyrinth, in our labyrinth walks that will be once a month, whether we are in the Celtic service, whether we are in the nave. There are beautiful ways that we worship. Here are a few data points. I don't know if I made it big enough for you to read. On a normal Sunday, it takes about 46 volunteers in the morning to staff all of the roles from 7:45 through the 11:15 service. Those are readers, greeters, ushers, Eucharistic ministers, acolytes. That's not even counting our altar guild and our flower guild, who are our behind-the-scenes ministers. In 2023, there will be 148 Eucharistic services in the morning, plus our Celtic services in the evenings. Online morning prayer happens 243 times this year. There are 328 volunteers in our ministry scheduler. About 230 are active, and then there are additional volunteers too. So if you want to get involved, we need you. Please let Gretchen know what you would like to do. We can train you so that you won't walk into this blind. But oftentimes at St. Stephen's, we're a welcoming place where it's easy for you to step in and we bring you alongside us. And you help make that happen. There are lots of different entities involved in worship. You, the parishioners, we have Flower Guild, Altar Guild, the adult choir, and our Celtic musicians. I can't go without speaking about the beautiful music that is provided here that brings peace and calm. And then you have your staff who do all the things we do behind the scenes as well. Looking to growth this year, we have new volunteers. We have new volunteers because of a ministry fair that we held in August that many of you said, hey, I want to start doing some other things. Not only were there in-reach projects like worship, but also outreach opportunities. We have had training events for the Flower Guild, and as John alluded to the Altar Guild, there was an Altar Guild training yesterday morning. We also had worship ministry training. And we have now incorporated safety components into all of those trainings for worship ministers as well, so that when there is a medical emergency or other kind of drill that we need to be aware of, some of us are prepared for those as much as we can be. In the year ahead, always recruiting more volunteers, specifically if you like the 7:45 service, or if you want to try your hand at serving at the Celtic service at 5 o'clock. The rotations are not as frequent. You could do that once a month, and they always need extra hands. As well, acolyte masters are ways to help make sure we have all the acolytes we need, and then you're done. And our video and sound system coordinators hit the buttons for live stream, and there's great training for that. So if you are interested, I would love to have more assistance there. And so thank you for the prayers, for your participation, for your joy. It makes my job beautiful, and you make this worship space so meaningful. So thank you for what you do.
Now it's the budget conversation. I would be remiss if I didn't share that this is, as we finish this year, this is the 24th year of Russ Vanderveld serving as the treasurer. Probably needs a lot more applause than that, but we'll save that to next year on 25. But the health of this congregation largely is to your care and oversight and making sure that we're on track. I wanted to show y'all something new. This is just the overall income for the church. And you may see a different little piece of the pie this year. We've grown up. This was the first year in the history of St. Stephen's that we took a regular distribution from the endowment. In 2000, I believe it was 2004, a group from St. Stephen's got together to think about the long-term future of St. Stephen's, and we have reached a place where it's a small percentage of the budget. It was $37,661 that came in, and that's designated for 25% for capital expenditures, 50% for in-reach, outreach, and then 25% for special projects. But it's a start of becoming a healthier, growing up, so there's different revenue streams coming in. But it's just a sign of maturity of St. Stephen's. Most of our income comes from pledge. In this past year, we had $1,776,000 pledged, and about $200,000 that was in the plate. So just a huge amount of gratitude. That takes everyone in this room and a lot more people to plan thoughtfully so that we can be good stewards of the resources of St. Stephen's. So for everyone who's made a commitment, thank you. For those that are supporting St. Stephen's, thank you very much for helping us live into the ministry of our church. To see, Ann and I have worked on a kind of narrative budget that helps you kind of see the breakdown of where that goes. That includes trying to be thoughtful about how people spend their time. But it's a gift to see that our church is spending about 14% of our annual revenue on outreach. A lot of that goes to support the diocese and the diocesan projects. We fund half of the operating expenses for a school in Haiti, which is remarkable, that has a few hundred students. What is not in this number for outreach? This year we tried an experiment with Meals for Missions with two people that came here to cook, and we've had an extra, and all the proceeds, not the revenue, but the any profit from their cooking when you order those meals, then is money that we give quarterly to the outreach committee. And I believe that we've been able to give another about $15,000, roughly around there, this year, giving away through those meals that are purchased, that are picked up on Thursday. And that has actually, in other ways, helped kind of balance out our Wednesday nights as we're in this experiment of trying to figure out how to do food services on Wednesday nights. But it's been a wonderful way of St. Stephen's continuing. And I think maybe Russ and I can, and the finance committee can figure out a better way of showing the impact of that ministry. But this gives you an overview of how we are trying to be good stewards of the resources of this community. I wanted to share about the endowment because it's been a lot of work, how that works. You can see the 3-year growth of the endowment here, and what the committee has done is try to take a 3-year average so that we can kind of have a very conservative approach to in a balanced approach to knowing what the revenue is going to be, and kind of, when there's ups and downs, we're not impacted that greatly if we're looking at it from a 3-year approach. But it also means that there's a very, very, very generous gift in 2022, and that is spread out over 3 years. So we will not fully realize that this year. I want to share something new, though, about the endowment that I'm excited about. One of the hopes when we pitched building a memorial garden and a columbarium was that we would raise money for that, and we would also sell niches and plaques. Whenever you do a building project, it's good to put in a 10% contingency for costs. Landscape Services did a remarkable job and came in under cost. That is unheard of today. What that means, we also sold more niches than we thought we would sell at this point. I imagined it would be 20 to 30 years before we would have a perpetual maintenance fund to care for the memorial garden. We're about a third of the way there with a new We have about $125,000 that will be moved into a separate fund in the Memorial Garden. We need about 3 times that to get to the place where the maintenance can be cared for forever. But that will just come from the selling of niches and plaques in the future. We're just years ahead of where I thought we would be at this time. So those that have made plans to make this your eternal home, know that this place will be cared for in perpetuity. I'd now like to invite Catherine Owens, who has done the most remarkable job as a senior warden. I'm incredibly grateful, but it seems fitting to have you talk about the labyrinth, because it seems like whoever is senior warden, they have the gifts that we need at that moment. That has been very clear over the last several years. Catherine's experience as an architect, coming in to help us with some building projects in a beautiful way, and bringing this labyrinth to fruition. So Catherine, thank you. You just tell me when you want me to go to the next slide. Yeah.
Good morning. Is that all right? Thank you. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve on your vestry. I found it a rewarding experience to be a member of such a dedicated group that focuses on the hopefulness of Christ's love. In reflecting on this year, I think what a courageous year it has been, with so many accomplishments that seem all the more meaningful after the sadness of last year. I think Jane, Bart, and Sharon would be well pleased with what we have achieved. Before celebrating St. Stephen's birthday in May, John referenced Leviticus in noting it was a Jubilee year for us, being our 50th year. In Leviticus, a Jubilee year meant a year to let the fields rest. Debts were forgiven, and field workers were released. Our Jubilee year has been quite the opposite. You have graciously donated your time and resources in greater measure, and this Jubilee year will be remembered for these momentous achievements. I want to bring your attention to one project that is not quite complete, the Labyrinth Memorial Garden. We began this project without prior funding in hand, going forward on faith and only seed money from the Green Bow Fund, as we wanted the Labyrinth Memorial Garden to be completed by June 16th. And amazingly so, we accomplished that goal, in great part to the determination of our contractor, Landscape Services, Inc. They were a wonderful partner. I also want to thank my fellow Labyrinth committee members for your dedication. And if here, please stand to be recognized. Ann Markham Bailey, Chris Bowles, the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Bridges, Rob Elsner, Conley Knott, Annette Reynolds, Casey Ruiz, Emily Wolashak, and Leslie Carlisle. Golightly Landscape Architects was given the go-ahead in December and tasked with completing working drawings by January, which John Wilson and his staff achieved. Again, a perfect partner for this project. With drawings in hand and a contract for construction executed, John Burris, Leslie Carlisle, and I began fundraising by reaching out to the greater community to partner with us on this project as a way of strengthening our community bonds and by offering a public healing space to those in the community. Leslie was instrumental in coordinating meeting opportunities for us, writing grant applications, speaking with groups and individuals, and helping to write thank you notes. We found in speaking with so many diverse groups that our entire community was affected by the violence we experienced, and it served as an inflection point for them to make new policies within their organizations. There were so many groups who were open to helping. The city of Vestavia helped amplify our message by contacting the Vestavia Voice newsletter. Individual city councilors made contributions. The Alabama Episcopal Diocese contributed and provided press. Bishop G. also wrote to her fellow bishops about our Labyrinth Memorial Garden, and many sent donations from their bishops' funds. The Vestry of St. Luke's Episcopal Church donated in memory of one of their devoted Labyrinth disciples. St. Gregory's Episcopal Church in Woodstock, New York, somehow heard of our Labyrinth project and sent in our first received donation in December, before we had even started fundraising. It gave us hope. The Independent Presbyterian Church Foundation donated through their small grants fund and asked us to come back to speak to their entire board. The Goodrich Family Foundation awarded us a grant. Medical Properties Trust, Inc. donated, and Cox Pools provided and installed the 3 sheep fountains for us. We also had many non-St. Stephen's individuals donate, some as memorials, some to support the Labyrinth. Several of these donations came from out of state through our Give Butter Fund. Over half the donations for this project have been provided from outside funding, from which I'm humbled and grateful. We have just under $57,000 more to raise in order to retire this debt. It is ours to finish. And I'm hopeful that we can have this debt paid off by the end of this extraordinary Jubilee year. So if you haven't contributed yet, please help us as you are able. I am most grateful for your commitment to this holy place we call our church, and for all that we have accomplished together this year. Let's finish what we began. Thank y'all.
Catherine sent out an email a month and a half ago, I believe, asking for nominations for Vestry. And so 5 names were submitted, and so we decided to put forth a consent slate. It is within the bylaws of the church that someone can be nominated from the floor, but we've moved to the place of Vestry nominees, and the proposed nominees are Adam Campbell, Melody Egan, Brandy McCormack, Mike Monroe, and Verna Orr. Melody's teaching in Carpenter Hall, but for those that have been nominated, would you please stand so y'all can see? Thank y'all. And their bios were in that email. Are there any nominations from the floor? All in favor? So moved. Thank you all for being willing to serve on the vestry. It is an open process, and it's the retiring vestries, the nominating committee. If you have an interest in serving in this way, please reach out to somebody in the vestry. It is not a closed group. We look to find new people to be a part. We also need to, 3 people were nominated to represent St. Stephen's for the next 3 years at our diocesan convention, and that was Paul Morris, Susan McDowell, and Jean Shearer. Can we have a motion to support these? So moved. Fiona? Second from Pat. All in favor? Aye. So moved. And if you have interest in the future, when you are elected to represent St. Stephen's at convention, it's a 3-year commitment, so you have and you go for the 2 days or so to convention, but 3 years so that you can learn the process and be a part going forward. Thank you all. Now I want to turn to something different. I think probably several of y'all were surprised maybe, and I know that everybody was really excited as well when we called Mary B. Sullivan to be the Director of Spirituality and Wellness. And you're probably like, what is that? Why do you keep coming up with these weird titles, John? I think it's most fitting for Mary B. to lead the last chapter of our annual meeting to tell us where we are headed in the future. So Mary B., invite you forward. You've got a clicker, and you can scroll up and down and see your slides.
Hey there, I am so glad to be here with you, and I want to thank Catherine and the Vestry for your support for this new endeavor that we're continuing to wonder about exactly what it is. I give great credit to John Burris, who had a vision before I was here, and it just worked out that we were together on the same page. And the collaborative effort with the staff here at St. Stephen's and working with Catherine is a joy as well. So thank you. It's really great to be here with you. As John said, it's like, what the heck are we talking about when we talk about spirituality and wellness? So, and that one question mark's supposed to be on the line above, but anyway. So spirituality is really hard to define, okay? It's really hard to define, and there are lots of different ways to think about it. And it's very broad, and I will tell you that some of the work of what we're going to be doing as a community over the next few months is to determine what aspects of spirituality and wellness that we're already doing that we want to lift up, and how do we want to build on that and claim our space in this important part of our faith life. But one way that I thought of we could think of is spirituality describes living out the transformative path of the Christian faith toward becoming all who God created us to be. So there's lots of ways to do that, but that's the most important part of what our spirituality is. And then when we think about wellness, wellness is all kinds of things. Wellness, but in the context of Christian wellness, it is, how do we love God with all our heart, all our mind, all our soul, and all our strength? And so inherent in that definition is an awareness that wellness incorporates what you've heard, body, mind, and spirit. And so looking at the import of our wholeness and wellness individually as Christians, but also collectively to have a sense of our mission as Christians to contribute to the wellness, the well-being, the wholeness to the community around us. So, am I pointing in the right direction? Where do I want to point this thing? It did change. Oh, sorry. Okay, it's not changing here, but okay. I went too far. Okay, thank you. So we're looking at creating some sense of a center for spirituality and wellness that is birthed here out of St. Stephen's as a part of this. And we might wonder, why would we do this? Why would we do this now? And why, and we'll get to in a minute, would we do this here at St. Stephen's? So as you know, the cultural trends are great, where there is an incredible number of people who identify as nuns, N-O-N-E-S, not the kinds with the habits on. And those same folks are yearning for deep connection and relationship. And our message as Christians, our Christian faith, has a real sense of healing that we can provide within the context of the world we're living in right now. And there are a lot of people who may never walk in the door here and participate in a worship service, but they may be open to other ways of looking at coming together in community and healing. And so it is important for us to step into the void in the place in which we live right now and acknowledge there really is a loneliness epidemic. The Surgeon General has identified this. There was a researcher out of England who originally coined this term. And being lonely is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's huge. We're seeing it in so many different aspects of our world. And so some of what we have to offer here at St. Stephen's is the wonderful opportunity to have community and to grow in love with one another. We also know that we're dealing with a mental health and a suicide epidemic. And so what we're hoping for is some kind of center that is focused on healing, is focused on community, is focused on hope. So why would we do this here at St. Stephen's? Well, I believe that a lot of what you just spoke about, Catherine, in regard to the labyrinth has one of the main reasons, and that is we have such a beautiful campus to offer to people. We have the St. John's building across the street, this memorial garden and labyrinth. I have been leading groups that have been doing meditations in the memorial gardens and on the labyrinth, and people are so overwhelmed at the beauty and the healing that they experience when they're here. John has a vision about the walkability that we now have with the sidewalks coming in the local community. And then we have this commitment to ecological sustainability, which also is a part of our healing of body, mind, and spirit. The body of the world is a part of it too. This is an outreach of our pastoral care. And what does that mean? Well, if you think about it, when Catherine is working with folks from a pastoral care perspective, a lot of times it's when we're in crisis, right? Or beautiful things like babies being born. But even babies being born can be really hard. I'm looking at someone holding a beautiful one right now. And so if we look at spiritual care as the beginning of pastoral care, if we help to create a sense of what practices, what way of being that we can grow in our strength when we get to the place of crisis, or someone around us is in a place of crisis, we are better equipped to have our faith help carry us through that crisis. So it is an extension of that. It's also extension of outreach because we envision that this center that we're moving toward, this idea, will be not just for St. Stephen's parishioners, but for the community around us. It will be an extension of our current programs, a healing response to the painful tragedy, and also we can operate in a way that we are really maximizing how we can work with local and national partners, some of which we have already. The idea is we don't want to duplicate effort. We want to focus on how we can have the most impact. And so what we are on the cusp of doing, and I'll just move through this kind of fast, but I want you to be aware, if you think about it like a funnel, right now the ideas are here, but we want to come tighter and tighter in about what exactly is this. There's a creation of an advisory committee that we need to make. I want to invite every single one of you to join in at least one of the listening sessions that we will have in January and February. The dates are behind me. The Sunday dates are going to be a part of a beautiful series we're calling Wholeness as a Healing Stories in the Bible, Wholeness as a Path to Holiness. We have some lovely presenters who will be coming, and we'll be incorporating the St. John's Bible, which is a gift that will be here for a few months. We'll be incorporating that in our liturgy and also in our Sunday school training. In Lent, we will offer for people to come and get small group facilitation training, and we're creating a St. Stephen's Rhythm of Life few-week course and also a little Rhythm of Life booklet that all can fill out in order to order our lives in Christ on a regular basis. And John has mentioned the labyrinth walks and the Celtic service. I'm so grateful for your vision here. I feel like I just jumped right into, I'm swimming in a pond that I'm so grateful, so very grateful to be swimming in this pond with you. So I have one request, and that is, in your prayers, I hope sometimes you will specifically hold up in your prayer this vision. I have a second request, that you'll participate in what this may be, because you need to help us figure out what it is that would be the most beneficial that we could use with our time and our energy and resources to promote the spirituality and wellness of this community. Thank you so very much.
I give thanks every single day to be a part of this community. The creativity, the vision, the way that each of you live into your ministry, your generosity, your faithfulness, it teaches me every single day. I'm especially grateful for my colleagues, for our staff, who work tirelessly and do such a beautiful job. I know, Pat, you're here, and I think others are. I know Jennifer's in probably Carpenter Hall wrangling children, and Taylor as well. So just give a huge amount of thanks for the hard work of our community, for y'all being here. And I am super excited about what 2024 has in store for us as we continue to grow in our faith. So go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.